Find Me Falling has been the number one film on Netflix for a couple of weeks now, so I thought I would check out what all the fuss is about. But the days of star-studded, high-budget films on Netflix every week are long gone, and now we're stuck with these lazy, romantic dramas with stars that haven't been seen in the cinema for decades. Harry Connick Jr. is one of those guys who does a bit of everything, comedy, uh, TV presenting, acting, and singing. He always just stays relevant enough just so we don't forget who he is. But he's never really had one of those acting roles that really truly showcases if he really is a good actor or not. But he does have a nice, gentle screen presence, so I'll give him that. Harry stars as John, a 50-something rock star who hasn't had a hit album or song in decades, and he seems to be known worldwide for one song, "Sex on the Beach," which is a very personal song for him, even though he won't admit it. He decides to fly to Cyprus, Greece, without telling anybody one day, just so he can have some alone time. Once John arrives in Greece, he buys a house on the cliff in Cyprus, and pretty soon he finds out that this location in front of his house is a popular spot for people to jump off the cliff and commit suicide. A very uplifting subject for a romantic comedy. And so he decides to build a fence around the front of the cliff and around his house so people don't jump off the cliff and so people don't come into his house and bother him. John goes into town to do some shopping and get some supplies for his house. While we're in town, he meets some of the local people. He meets the lady who runs the grocery store, and he meets a man who owns a restaurant in town as well. He organizes for his shopping to be delivered to his house on the cliff. A young woman in her 20s who works for the grocery store delivers the groceries to his house on the cliff. And when they meet, they have a bit of a playful chemistry. And it looks like for a little while that they might have a romantic relationship, but she makes it pretty clear early on that she is not interested in him at all. John is invited to visit the restaurant in town, so he goes to the restaurant at night. And when he's in the restaurant, he sees Melina, the young girl who delivered groceries to his house. Melina is singing on stage in the restaurant, and he's surprised to see her, and he can clearly see that she has some musical talent and she's a good singer. At the restaurant, John is introduced to a few of the people who are important in the town, and he also meets a woman called Sia, who is a local doctor in the town, and it's pretty clear straight away that John and Sia have met before. After John leaves the restaurant, Sia runs out of the restaurant and catches up with him. They have a bit of a catching up conversation, and we put some clues together as to how they knew each other, and eventually they kiss, and Sia goes back to John's house on the cliff, and she spends the night with him in his house. Next morning, Sia slowly sneaks out of the house before John wakes up, and we get a few cute scenes of Sia having to explain how she knows John, where she was last night and why did she sneak out so early in the morning. John knows that she works at the hospital, so when John eventually wakes up, he goes to visit her at the hospital. We find out that John visited Greece many years ago, decades ago, and had a relationship with Sia before he was famous, before he was a rock star. And through that romance, Sia got pregnant with Melina, the young girl from the grocery store, and John never knew he had a child. The last maybe half an hour of the film is John writes a new song because he's inspired by his rekindled romance with Sia, and he sends this song to his agent in America, and his agent loves the song and he thinks it's going to be a big hit. So John is torn between staying in Greece and and rekindling his connections with his ex-girlfriend and daughter, or should he go back to America and continue his musical career? There's also a subplot featuring a pregnant young lady who is standing next to the cliff in front of his house, and John has to talk her out of jumping off the cliff. And there's a bit of a relationship between John and this young lady, but that really doesn't add anything to the film at all. So this is not a good film at all. As a travel guide for Greece, it does a great job. It shows off the beautiful locations, the tasty looking food, the nice, pleasant people. So yeah, it really does make you want to visit Greece. So that's pretty much the only thing the film good thing the film does. But there's nothing in this film we haven't seen before. Every time we get a nice moment between John and Sia, and they might get together, the film conjures up some fake drama where Sia gets upset over some misunderstanding, and then the film doesn't go forward with the romance. There's one scene where Sia is invited to John's house to have dinner, and the young girl, Melina, at this stage, John doesn't know that Melina is his daughter, and Sia goes to the house for dinner, and when she goes to the house, she thinks he has a young woman there, and she goes crazy and asks questions, and it's just her reaction is completely overblown. And there's another scene where John goes to the hospital. He takes flowers to the hospital because that young woman who was jumping off the cliff, she's in hospital to have her baby. So John goes to the hospital to give her flowers, and Sia works at the hospital, and she grabs the flowers out of his hands and chomps on them on the ground, and it's a crazy scene. Like, it's behavior that no normal person would do, and it's a shame that the film makes up these crazy stories for no reason. These crazy scenes are just there to create conflict. There were so many opportunities for the film to explore this romance on a mature level, like explore the connection that John might have with his daughter, especially they both sinners, and face the dilemma that John might want to go back to America, or does he want to stay in Greece. There were ways to explore this relationship, but it just goes for lazy conflict and lazy soap opera drama. And even though John has been to Greece before, he's had a romance before, it never crossed his mind that if he goes back to Greece after all these years, he might actually run into somebody. He might actually run into Sia again. He was very surprised that he ran into her again. So I found that a little bit hard to believe. And everyone in the film speaks English. Some of the characters with a American accent, and that takes you out of the film a little bit. It takes the realism, the Greece setting out of the film a little bit. And it doesn't matter what scenario John finds himself in, that person in a scenario always speaks fluent English. Harry Connick Jr. is pretty much just slumming it here. Uh, he he changes emotions from grumpy to endearing to welcoming very quickly. His character doesn't really have much of an arc, and he doesn't really have any chemistry with the actress that plays Sia. But at least she is only 10 years younger than him in real life, so that's a nice change of pace. You're better off skipping Find Me Falling. There are much better romantic films you can watch on Netflix. I can only give Find Me Falling 1.5 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye bye. See you next time.